In these slides, I'd like to go over some lab work. Um, and what I will use as kind of my baseline is that I had such a superior workup for the hypopituitarism. And some of this is sort of entry level if this is something you're looking at. Um, but they did such a fabulous job. I want to share it, how it should be done. Um, What I did not have, I'll start with that, and that was an iron test. Um, I tend to run high, like on hematocrit and red blood cells, and that is associated with Cushing's, although I don't have it anymore. It goes in and out of normal, in and out of above normal, actually. But in regard to iron, um, alongside of that is B12 and folate. And I know red meat is sort of controversial and maybe not appropriate for everyone, like say if you have gout or something. But, just a tip, red meat is really high in iron and B12 and folate. So if that could be your issue, that's something you may want to consider. The comprehensive metabolic syndrome, that looks at, or not syndrome, panel. That looks like at your, for example, your liver and kidney function, etc. The one that goes in and out of normal, it goes below normal, is um, my creatinine. And they are usually looking for high for kidney disease, but mine runs low for whatever the reason, I don't know. Um, And with my workup, they did test my phosphorus, and that is related to the parathyroid function, and magnesium. And one thing I want to say about magnesium is that your body tries very hard to keep it in a normal range to keep your heart functioning, and it will pull from your bone. Um, a high magnesium might be indicative of a kidney disease, and I'm really not sure about endocrine. There might it might play a role with parathyroid. I'm not 100% certain on that though, but it does help regulate those minerals in your body. They did, and I'm going to skip down and what could be really important. The CBC with differential and platelet, the comprehensive metabolic panel, and I'm going to skip down B12 and folate. That is just imperative to feel well. And again, I mentioned the anemia factor. Vitamin D 25 hydroxy is can really be messed with by your endocrine system. Mine was low with Cushing's, low with uh, hypopituitarism. It took a year of a pretty high dose to even get it up in a good range, around 50. Um, Next, I want to go to the this other little grouping, and these I would consider important if this is like entry level endocrine workup. C-peptide is measured to see how well your body's making insulin, and that's, could be involved with metabolic syndrome, diabetes, PCOS. So, and I've heard, and I don't know about you people with boots on the ground with fibromyalgia. It reads like people are not getting some of these tested until they're like 35, 40 years old, including hemoglobin, hemoglobin A1C. And what that does, it bumps up your fasting glucose to a new level. What it does is averages out that glucose over a 3-month period, and that would be a way of identifying an insulin resistance or diabetes itself. Lipid panel is hugely important, again, with metabolic syndrome, PCOS. Endocrine system can really get that dysregulated. You know, my lipids have been off the charts. Um, Statins are a whole nother story I'll address in another category, but I do not take a statin. Um, so they did test my kidney function with a microalbumin urine, and they did test amylase and lipase, and this is looking for a pancreatitis. They're wanting to know that these systems are working well. Now, mind you, the next two slides are all in one blood draw. It took, I mean, it was like I broke a record in the lab, and nothing was wasted. It took her a half hour to figure out what tube she needed. But God bless the endocrine office for throwing the book at it and getting to the bottom of my issue. Okay, on to the next slide. Here are the hormones that they tested me, and this is from my initial visit to my really superior, outstanding endocrinologist. The only thing I could see really lacking is from the posterior uh, pituitary gland, but I wasn't exhibiting symptoms like pee in a river all day long. So that those hormones were not done, but the adrenal hormones were done, the serum cortisol, DHEA, aldosterone, and renin. And these are all testing the function or hormone levels of my adrenal glands. So bravo. Estradiol and estrogens total, checking my sex hormones. PTH, parathyroid hormone, and alongside of that's the calcium ionized, and that reads differently than the regular metabolic panel. That might be, in a more usable form. I'm taking a guess. Um, the next two are pituitary hormones, ACTH. That's what signals your adrenals. TSH is thyroid stimulating hormone. They check the T4 and T3, and the luteinizing FSH, prolactin, and growth hormone are all pituitary hormones, and the IGF-1, and they repeated that several times because my levels were quite low. So these people were on it. God bless them. This endocrine workup went on to look for autoimmune disorders and certain cancers. I mean, this is just so outstanding. Um, and I'll just preface it by saying, like, the words globulin, antibodies, uh, antigen, they're words, as in the most simple terms possible. It's looking at your blood for like a immunity or an autoimmune response to something going on. So as you can see, they were looking for an autoimmune response in my thyroid. Two different tests. The 21 hydroxylase was looking at an autoimmune thing going on with my adrenal glands. GAD65 is actually done in a couple circumstances. One of them is a lot of type 1 diabetics will test positive for GAD65. It's also associated with muscular disorders, which is sort of a separate issue, but I had it done earlier for muscle. Interesting. Okay, ANA with reflex, and it measures a number, and then it kind of cascades into, the need or not need for other testing. And when I did test positive, I had mentioned earlier I was in and out of positive. So at this stage of the game, I was sent to a rheumatologist for a really thorough workup to rule out a rheumatoid factor and lupus and you name it. I mean, it was pages of rheumatology workup. Sed rate is goes high with arthritic type conditions. C-reactive protein, that was another one that sent me to the rheumatologist. That was quite high. And then a couple of cancer antigens. And I just can't remember off the top of my head if that was done initially or if that was a continuation, a part of the growth hormone deficiency workup. But it did get done. Yay!
Rame-rame sukses no Event longko sing bakal ono Neng Yogyakarta istimewa Festival Gerobak Sapi Festival Gerobak Sapi Dia tape tadi becek Dia tape tadi becek Ayo konco Lintang ayo Yogyakarta Rame-rame sukses no Event longko sing bakal ono Neng Yogyakarta istimewa